sure to tune in to At Home with Christ Ministry with Julie Thomas, broadcasting Monday nights at 8 p.m. live on licmc.net, radio, Facebook, and YouTube.
So hello out there, and welcome to another edition of the At Home with Christ podcast show. Today we're going to be talking again about something that we should all talk about. We've been talking last week about the two different types of shows. If you're on God's TV show and you want God to answer your problem, then God will answer his problems in his appropriate way. Or you could be on Satan's TV show and Satan will answer your way. And all of these things we are talking about, we've been talking about a whole lot about prayers. And we want to begin today by talking about, or continuing to talk about prayers. First of all, we want to begin by saying that we have to be persistent in praying. And you have to remember, people out there, that we have to have a pure heart. We have to have a pure mind. We have to have a pure soul when we're praying. Because sometimes when you're praying and you're asking for things and then God doesn't answer your prayers, then you may switch over to another channel, another TV show host, another problem to solve your problems, and you may have an encounter with Satan. And he will answer your prayers his way. He'll think that you're right, and you'll think that you're right. And then when actually in reality, you're not right. So sometimes, as you remember the word, our condemnations are our sorrows and griefs, meaning our sorrows and griefs sometimes can cause us to become emotionally, and then we want to have our problems answered right away. We want our problems to be solved right away. And we tend to go to the wrong people to get our problems solved. So we have to pray first, and we have to think first about that prayer request, about that problem, about that condemnation that we are having. We also want to say that Jesus thought that prayer means don't quit. Don't quit. So you pray faithfully, pray with a pure heart, pray with a pure conscience, and don't quit. Just because your prayers you think are not answered, and if you're really pure in your heart, you're really pure in your soul, you're really pure in your that, then we have to wait for God, because we have to remember we're on God's time, and we don't want to just jump ship and say, oh, well, I'm going to try to solve the problems my way, because when you're solving the problems your way, you might run to a person, and that person may be in the wrong frame of mind. That person may be listening to Satan, and that person will do things that Satan will tell them to do, which may be wrong. Next, we want to say we have to pray shamelessly and presenting your request before the Lord. So we can't be ashamed of our prayers. We know. We can't quit when praying. We know. And we must be persistent. So we have to keep going, and we have to have faith in our prayers. Because if we don't have faith in our prayers, and we don't have faith in God, then we may turn to someone like Satan. We may say to someone like Satan, can you, Satan, help me solve this problem? And he'll be standing right back there laughing at you and I and at God, because he's answering the prayers his way. He may tell you to go out and shoot someone, you to go out and murder someone, you to go out and rob someone, instead of waiting and listening to God. And that's the difference, when you're on the what's my problem or the solve my problem show, you don't know what the host might want you to do. God may want you to do this, but Satan is telling you to do something else. And you have to decide, who are you going to listen to? What voice are you going to listen to? Are you going to listen to that voice that tells you that what you're doing and you know what you're doing is wrong? You're going to listen to that voice, or are you going to listen to God's voice? So you think about contestant one, a man. Oh, his buddy wronged him. And instead of him praying on it and asking God what he should do, he went to Satan. And Satan said, you should what? You should kill him. You should murder him. So instead of that person listening to God, he listened to Satan, and now that's someone who's lost his life. That's someone who's lost a son, someone who's lost a father, someone who's lost a brother. Is that the kind of type of person you want to be? Then you should try to really listen to God. Because sometimes our condemnations, as we're saying, our sorrows and our griefs get to us, and we become emotional, and our problems are being solved right away. But we got to remember that we must seek God's counsel first, because God's counsel is what is required for us. God's counsel is good for us. So let's review something. When you are praying, you are seeking something. God promises us must be sought for our lives, which it says in Isaiah 54:13. God's promises must be sought for our lives. And so we have to remember that. And let's also look at something else. It says, whom are you seeking? Are you seeking Satan? Or are you seeking God? And if you're seeking God, God causes us to seek him. But just as the enemy causes us to seek him, because he's trying to distort us and tell us that what we are seeking isn't real. What God wants you to do isn't real. So we must, like we said, put on our full suit of armor daily and stay on guard, because Satan is out there just waiting and waiting and waiting. Whatever we do in life, we should take it to prayer first. Take it to God and prayer first. Now, prayer includes asking, as we said before. And who are you asking? You are asking God, not Satan. Because we said, like we said in our last show, you want something, you haven't gotten it because you haven't asked God. And maybe you haven't gotten it because what you have been asking for is not pure, is not righteous, isn't really what you want. You're just trying to do something that's out of selfishness. So you think about yourself and you think about other people when they're asking for stuff. Maybe they're trying to do it not from a pure standpoint of view. Maybe they're trying to do something that is not of God. Because sometimes we try to do stuff that is not of God, and it turns out disastrous. So you've got to remember to ask yourself, first of all, what am I trying to do? Is this in the will of God? Is this what God wants me to do? Is this in the alignment of God? And we have to remember, that's something that we have to continue to ask ourselves for. And then we want to say that prayer is making requests to God, both for our own needs and for others, including our loved ones. So we want to make the right request to God for the right people, for the right needs. We can't be on two different channels. We can't be on two different wavelengths. Either you're with God and you for God's alignment for you, for God's will for you, or either you're with the Satan for his will with you and his alignment for you. And he might be trying to destroy you. He might be trying to destroy your loved ones. And with that, we are going to end our podcast today. Next week, we're going to be talking about something totally different, but it's still in the alignment of our spiritual battles. And thank you.
Be sure to tune in to At Home with Christ Ministry with Julie Thomas, broadcasting Monday nights at 8 p.m. live on licmc.net, radio, Facebook, and YouTube.
Hello, I am Julie Thomas, and the name of my podcast is it's a Well-Watered Christian Podcast for my social media podcast show, which is At Home with Christ. And now I want to tell you about my latest TV show, which is going to be At Home with Christ TV. And you can reach that, and you can see all the episodes on Shrimp TV, on shrimp.com, so that you can go to this new platform, which is shrimp.com, and look for At Home with Christ TV under London. It is a fantastic show, and we hope that you will